Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel Rosam Tech. Today we are going to talk about a novel called Goodbye Mr. Chips, written by James Hilton. So let's start the video. Before we start the video, please subscribe my channel and click bell icon. James Hilton, one of the most endearing creations of modern fiction. Goodbye Mr. Chips. When you are getting on in years but not ill, of course, you get very sleepy at times and the hours seem to pass like lazy cattle moving across a landscape. It was like that for Chips as the autumn term progressed and the days shortened till it was actually dark enough to light the gas before call over. For Chips, like some old sea captain, still measured time by the signals of the past, and well he might, for he lived at Mr. Wicket's, just across the road from the school. He had been there more than a decade, ever since he finally gave up his Mr. Chips, and it was Brookfield far more than Greenwich time that both he and his landlady kept. Mr. Wicket's Chips would sing out in that jerky, high-pitched voice that had still a good deal of sprightliness in it. You might bring me a cup of tea before grab, will you? When you are getting on in years, it is nice to sit by the fire and drink a cup of tea and listen to the school bell sounding, dinner call over, prep and lights out. Chips always wound up the clock after that last bell. Then he put the wire guard in front of the fire, turned out the gas, and carried a detective novel to bed. Rarely did he read more than a page of it before sleep came swiftly and peacefully, more like a mystic intensifying of perception than any changeful entrance into another world, for his days and nights were equally full of dreaming. He was getting on in years, but not ill, of course. Indeed, as Dr. Merivale said, there was really nothing the matter with him. My dear fellow, you are fitter than I am, Merivale would say, sipping a glass of sherry when he called every fortnight or so. You are past the age when people get these horrible diseases. You are one of the few lucky ones who are going to die a really natural death. That is, of course, if you die at all. You are such a remarkable old boy that one never knows. But when Chips had a cold or when east winds rode over the fenlands, Merivale would sometimes take Mr. Wicket's aside in the lobby and whisper, "Look after him, you know his chest, it puts a strain on his heart. Nothing really wrong with him, only anno domini. But that's the most fatal complaint of all in the end. Anno domini, by Jove! Yes, born in 1848 and taken to the great exhibition as a toddly child. Not many people still alive could boast a thing like that. Besides, Chips could even remember Brookfield in Weatherby's times, a phenomenon that was. Weatherby had been an old man in those days, 1870. Easy was to remember because of the Franco-Prussian War. Chips had put in for Brookfield after a year at Melbury, which he had not liked because he had been ragged there a good deal but Brookfield he had liked almost from the beginning. He remembered that day of his preliminary interview, Sunny John with the air full of flower and the plick-plock of cricket on the pitch. Brookfield was playing Burnhurst, and one of the Burnhurst boys, a chubby little fellow, made a brilliant century. Quite that a thing like that should stay in the memory so clearly. Weatherby himself was very fatherly and courteous. He must have been ill then, poor chap, for he died during the summer vacation before Chips began his first term. But the two had seen and spoken to each other anyway. Chips often thought, as he sat by the fire at Mr. Wicket's, I am probably the only man in the world who has a vivid recollection of all weather by vivid. Yes, it was a frequent picture in his mind, that summer day with sunlight filtering through the dust in Weatherby's study. You are a young man through the Mr. Chips, and Brookfield is an old foundation. Youth and age often combine well. Give your give your enthusiasm to Brookfield, and Brookfield will give you something in return. And do not let anyone play tricks with you. I gather that discipline was not always your strong point at Melbury. Well, no, perhaps not, sir. Never mind, you are full young. It is largely a matter of experience. You have another chance here. Take up a firm attitude from the beginning. That's a secret of it. Perhaps it was, he remembered that first tremendous ordeal of taking prep a semester. Sunset more than half a century ago. Big hall full of lusty barbarians ready to pounce on him as the legitimate prey. His youth fresh, complexioned, high-collared, and side-whiskered. Old-fashioned people followed in those days, at the mercy of 500 unprincipled ruffians to whom the baiting of a new master was a fine art, an exciting sport, and something of tradition. Decent little beggars individually, but as a mob, just pitiless and implacable. The sudden hush as he took his place at the desk on the days, the skull he assumed to cover his inward nervousness, the tall clock ticking behind him, and the smell of ink and varnish, the last blood-red rays slatting in slabs through the stained glass window. Someone dropped a desk lid. Quickly he must take everyone by surprise. He must show that there was nonsense about him. You there in the fifth row, you with the red hair. What's your name? Coley, sir. Very well. Coley, you have 100 lines. No trouble at the after that. He had won his first round, and years later, when Coley was a alderman of the city of London and baronet and various other things, he sent his son to Brookfield, and Mr. Chips would say, Coley, your father was the first boy I ever punished when I came here 25 years ago. He deserved it then, and he deserved it now. How they all laughed, and how Sir Richard, when his son wrote home the story in next Sunday's letter. Today's video will be shown here, and the next video will be shown here. Thanks for watching my video.